Last week I gave you homework. I asked you to sit with one question. What did money mean in the house you grew up in? And if you actually did that, if you sat with that question, I want to tell you something. Whatever came up for you is not a diagnosis. It is not a destiny. It's a starting point. Because here's the thing about the scarcity mindset. And I want to be precise about this today. It's not a personality trait. It's not proof that you're bad with money. It's not evidence that wealth was never meant for you. It is a conditioned response. It is your nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. And the most important word in that sentence is trained. Because anything that was trained, as you know, can be retrained. But let me be real with y'all. Before we get into the solution, because I think a lot of people have a lot of people hear scarcity mindset and they think they already know what it is. In reality, they don't. Because I thought I knew what it was, but I didn't. Not fully. Not the version that's actually running my financial life. This is Sana E. I'm XO. And today we go deep on this subject. Here's the most important reframe I want to get to today, and I want you to hold it for the rest of the episode. Survival mode is a financial posture, not a financial situation. A situation is external. It's what's happening in your account, in your income, the circumstances. A posture, that's internal. It's the stance you take toward money regardless of what's in your account. And here is where it gets uncomfortable. Most men who grew up in financial stress learned a survival posture that got them through real difficulty. It kept the lights on, it kept the family together, it kept them functional in environments where scarcity was not a mindset, it was a daily routine. The problem with that is that posture doesn't automatically update when the situation changes. You can double your income and still think like a man who doesn't have enough. You can build a growing business and still make decisions from fear of losing everything. You can have money and savings and still feel broke because the posture is still set to survive and not live. So let's unpack that. Me personally, dealing with the scarcity mindset I've dealt with is like 2024 was like a relearning. 2024, I always refer back to that year because I learned a lot of that year about myself, about finances. And that scarcity mindset was still there. I was doubling my income, but I still had that fear that it's not enough, as well as, man, what if I lose it all? And me having that fear eventually happened. Because once you have a fear about something, it magnifies and attention is more likely to happen. So me saying that, me thinking that, it drew it closer to me. It's like I was manifesting it anyway. So it comes down to, how do I change that posture of, oh, I have to have this scarcity mindset. I have to be in survival mode all the time instead of reframing it and understanding I have to build and not just survive. Surviving what got me here. What is going to help me grow is me learning how to build for the next generation, learning how to invest, learning how money operates and changing my behavior towards money. Neuroscientists and behavioral economists have documented what they call the scarcity loop, a self-reinforcing cycle where perceived lack triggers stress narrows cognitive bandwidth, narrowed bandwidth leads to short-term decisions. Short-term decisions create or worsen financial instability, which triggers more perceived lack. The loop does not automatically break when circumstances improves. It breaks when the belief system underneath it changes. So it's like reprogramming your subconscious mind. And there's a few ways to do that. I'll throw the little tips in right now. One of them would be, or two of them is like when you wake up, not before you wake up, when you wake up, that first 15 minutes is like your mind is in a theta state where you're still programmed. You can program yourself, you hypnotize yourself in a way. It's like doing that the first 15 minutes when you wake up, or if you want to get the full experience of that, is really putting on a manifesting YouTube video while you're asleep, plugging in the wired headphones and just listening to that repeatedly for weeks on end until it just reprograms your subconscious mind. I would say do that for 3 months. You're like, oh, 3 months is a lot, but you'll see the difference in the changes how you operate when it comes to money, and as well as understanding why you were in survival mode too. It was going back to childhood. It's about the house you grew up in and understanding, okay, how can I change this behavior? How do I change this belief system within myself? And just really doing the work. But let me give you three signatures of a survival posture. Not a survival situation, but a survival posture. So you can recognize it operating in your own life. Signature number one, make decisions to protect what you have instead of decisions to grow it. Protection mode keeps you playing defense when the situation calls for offense. You keep money in the checking, earning nothing because moving it feels risky. You decline opportunities because they require investing something you have. You undercharge, undersell, accept less because holding on to the certainty feels safer than reaching for more. Is that you? What about signature number two? Financial information activates your threat response instead of your problem solving response. Checking your account feels like bracing for impact. Opening a bill is a psychological event. Talking about money, even calmly, even productively, creates tension in your body that has nothing to do with the actual numbers. This is your nervous system firing the same way it would if you were in physical danger. Because to your nervous system, financial threat and physical threat register in the same neighborhood. Have you been going through that? What about signature number three? The financial floor keeps shifting. This right here is the subtle one. No matter how much you earn or save, the number feels like enough keeps moving. You hit a goal, and instead of feeling secure, you immediately focus on the next thing that could go wrong. The finish line keeps relocating because in survival mode, there is no finish line. There is only the threat, the next threat on the horizon. And if any of these landed, that's not judgment, that's recognition. And recognition is the beginning of the work. So I want to make this concrete because I think abstract conversations about mindset don't move people. Numbers move people, as we all know. Here is what the scarcity loop costs you financially. It costs you in under earning. The man operating from a scarcity posture undercharges because he's afraid the client will say no. He accepts the first offer because negotiating feels risky. He stays in the job that's comfortable instead of pursuing the opportunity that can change his trajectory. Because change feels threatening and familiar feels safe, even when familiar is keeping him small. Research on salary negotiation shows that men who negotiate their offers earn 7 to 14% more over their career than men who don't. The scarcity posture tells you not to push. The math says push. If it costs you an impulse spending, this is the one that's counterintuitive, but the research is consistent. A scarcity mindset drives impulse, emotionally driven spending, not because you're irresponsible, but because your nervous system is using purchases to soothe the chronic anxiety that financial stress creates. The buy is a monetary relief from the tension, and then the account goes lower and the tension comes back stronger. The loop just tightens. I've been through that. I've been through this scarcity loop when it comes to impulsive spending because it's like you're like, okay, I gotta, for some reason, it feels like, oh, I gotta get this money out of my hand before something goes wrong. So it's like, oh, let me just buy stuff. Let me buy clothes. They call it retail therapy. And in retrospect, it's like, is it really therapy or is it you just putting a band-aid on a wound that's never gonna heal unless you do the work? That's what I had to tell myself. But it happens. We're impulse spenders where we spend off emotions instead of thinking strategically because we think, oh, this money's gonna lose. What about the first part? The person undercharges because he's afraid the client will say no. I think it's understanding when you're in business that there's billions of people in the world. So you can't sell to everybody. You're going to get a few no's. If they say no, that's cool. That's fine. Understanding like no is a part of the process, and no gets you one step closer to yes. So, and then I was saying, he accepts the first offer before because negotiating feels risky. What I gotta say that if y'all, I know y'all read this, y'all on this podcast. Check out the book Never Split the Difference. This is big on negotiations, and it'll help you when it comes to negotiating tactics. But with that being said, it costs you and miss compounding. This is the most devastating one over time. Every year that fear keeps you out of the market, every year that money sits in a low interest account because investing feels like gambling, because you might need it, because what if is a year of compounding, you never get it back. The scarcity mindset has a time cost, and time is the one resource in wealth that you cannot earn that. Behavior economists at Princeton and Harvard found that the mental bandwidth consumed by financial scarcity, the cognitive load of worry, threat scanning, and short-term planning is equivalent to a 13-point drop in financial IQ or functional IQ, excuse me. To put that in context, that is more cognitive impairment than a full night without sleep. The scarcity loop does not just feel bad, it functionally reduces your capacity to make decisions that will get you out of it. This is not about blame. This is about understanding the mechanisms so you can disrupt it. Because here's what I need you to hear. The scarcity loop is expensive. The longer you stay in it, the longer your posture remains set to survival. The higher the cost, I know you ain't trying to pay that. And it's not just financially, in energy and peace and the quality of your decisions and the relationships that financial stress quietly corrodes. The work of breaking it, it's not optional. It is the most high return investment available to you. All right. Here's the process to break it. Step one, regulate before you decide. This is the most counterintuitive one, and it matters most. When your nervous system is in threat mode, your financial decisions will reflect that response, not your actual values or strategies. Before you make any significant financial decision, before you look at your account, when you're already stressed, before you respond to an invoice, before you have a money conversation with your partner, pause, take 3 slow, deep breaths. Not as a wellness practice, as a neurological intervention. Deep breathing directly activates the parasympathetic nervous system, which lowers cortisol and shifts blood flow back towards the prefrontal cortex, the rational decision making center. You are literally changing the chemistry of the decision. 30 seconds. That's all it takes to shift from threat response to problem solving mode. Step two, schedule financial engagement instead of avoiding it. The avoidance of money, not looking at the account, not looking at the bills, not reviewing the budget, is one of the primary ways the scarcity loop sustains itself. What you don't look at doesn't get better. It gets worse, and then it surprises you. Pick one time per week. Call it your money meeting. I usually have them on Sundays. Sundays are my money meeting. That's how I get prepared for you. Even if it's just you, I do it by myself. And commit to sitting with your finances and do this calmly and deliberately. Check out your stuff. Print out your, for the last 90 days, your bank statements and just look at it. See what you've been spending. Do you have a budget for yourself? Why have you been impulse spending? Just question yourself. It's just you one-on-one doing the work with yourself. And this is not to fix everything at once. It's just to take a look at. Familiarity reduces the threat response. The more regularly you engage with your finances without crisis attached, the more your nervous system learns that money is a tool you manage, not a threat that manages you. Step number 3, separate the fear from the fact. The scarcity mindset runs on feelings that feel like facts. I'll never have enough is a feeling. My account is at $2,000 right now is a fact. When the anxiety hits, practice pulling those two things apart. What is actually true right now in this moment, in this account, and what is my history talking? Most financial anxiety is about a future that hasn't happened yet. and a past that no longer exists. The present moment, right now, is usually more manageable than fear suggests. And researchers studying the shift from scarcity to sufficiency mindset found that intentional, consistent engagement with finances in a calm state, rather than only engaging during crisis, is one of the most effective behavioral interventions for breaking the scarcity loop. The brain learns to associate money with management rather than threats. Over time, this requires an automatic response. You are literally building new neural pathways through repeated calm engagement. Step number 4, take one abundance action per week. Not a big old huge move. One intentional financial act that contradicts the survival posture. Open that investment account. Put 25 days, $25 into savings and don't even touch it. Just forget about it. As soon as it's transferred over, and put that on auto pay too, auto transfer. So you just forget about that thing. Ask for the rate you actually want. Pay yourself first, even if it's a small amount. Negotiate something. Each of these actions do two things simultaneously. It builds the financial foundation incrementally, and it gives you your nervous system evidence that a different relationship with money is possible for you. You're building proof of a new story, one brick at a time, brick by brick. That's what it takes. Step number 5, update your reference group. This is the one that does not get talked about enough. Your sense of what is financially normal, what is possible, what is expected, what is safe to want is heavily shaped by the people around you. If everyone in your immediate environment operates from scarcity, it reinforces your own scarcity as default. Find one person whose relationship with money represents what you want yours to look like. Excuse me. It does not have to be someone you know personal. Maybe it could be a podcast, a book. One of the books I highly recommend when it comes to developing or getting out of that scarcity mindset, or I guess there's 2 books now. The first one is The Psychology of Money. And the second book is I Will Teach You to Be Rich. And if you want a third one as a bonus, The Total Money Makeover. Those 3 books will really reshape your mindset towards money. And you already know exposure to a different financial reality plants the seeds of what becomes possible in your own life. I know it's a lot of information, but I know this helped y'all out as well as it helped me. So here's what I want you to sit with. The scarcity mindset did not come from nowhere. It came from real experiences, your own and the generations before you. And for a long time, it served a real purpose. It kept you alert, kept you careful, it kept you from getting caught off guard in environments where getting caught off guard is dangerous. Honor that, genuine. The version of you that learned to survive in scarcity was resourceful, was resilient, was doing what was needed to be done. But here's the truth that I want to learn for you today. Survival was never the destination. It was a vehicle. And you are not trying to survive anymore. You're trying to build. Those require completely different postures. And the posture you build for survival will undermine the building every time you don't update it. The word does not come from regulating before you decide, engaging with your finances every week a step up willingly, supporting fear from facts, taking one abundance action even when the fear says don't. Finding the reference points that show you what's possible. None of that is easy, but all of it is necessary. You spend enough time surviving. It's time to build. So next week, you know what we're going to talk about? We're going to get into the racial wealth gap, what it is, how it got here, and exactly what our generation can do about it. That is one conversation that's going to get real fast. Well, with that being said, this is Sana I.E. I'm XO. Man, share the show. We on YouTube. If you ain't on YouTube, go subscribe. The link will be in the show notes. And if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, any podcast platform, go ahead and follow, subscribe, leave a review. Share this to anybody who you think will help, especially when it comes to a scarcity mindset. Because I feel like, personally, just my opinion, I feel like I would say 90% of America lives in or has a scarcity mindset. So it's like, how do we change that? We change it by sharing the show as well as doing the work. We can't be afraid to do the work, especially when we want to level up. Sometimes you have to sit with yourself and take a look like, okay, I'm at this age now. What did the past so-and-so years look like? And what do I want my future to look like? Okay, this is what I want my future to look like. Okay, let me reverse engineer that so I can get there. But it starts with doing the work today and seeing where you want to go and not just living life doing cycles, living in that rat race. You don't break out that rat race, ladies and gentlemen. But with that being said, man, share the show. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next week. Peace.